Okay, so I'm doing my polity revision here. So, as of the part of the constitution, there are your 20, I think so, like 22 parts. Uh, when we got free independent, we got freedom. After that, currently we have 25 parts, and these parts are divided into like to learn these parts, you can divide them into like three parts. First part is goes till seventh. So like one, two, three, four, five, six, and seven. So first one is you can remember this like you can fly directly from US. Ah, my bad. So here is there one more thing here. Part 4A, then 5, then 6, then 7. So you can fly directly from direct. You can fly directly from US repealed. So your first part is union. Second part is your citizenship. Third part is your fundamental rights, which goes from Article 13 to Article 36. Then it is your DPSP, Directive Principle of State Policies, which are for social welfare, political and social welfare. So DPSPs are from your Article 37, which is the definition of DPSP, till it goes till Article 51. Okay. Then fundamental rights. This is sorry fundamental duty. Fundamental duty is a part of Article 51A. It comprises all of these here, and fundamental duties are of your 11 kind. And at this time of independence, we had 10 only. We added one more, which was added in your I think so 66th Constitution on an Act of 2001. So yeah, uh, then it is for union. Here it is like all the president, vice president, whoever comes in union is comprises here. So like president, if I have to give example, goes from like 52nd to, I think so, president goes till 52nd to, I forgot the name, but like 62nd, I think so. Yeah, it has 10 articles. Then the vice president goes from 63rd to 70, and 71 is if some problem is there in the election, then the Supreme Court would be the deciding judge over that. Then the S is your state. Then R is repealed. Repealed is one was the uh, what do you call that, the land one, the zamindari system. This got repealed under your the panchayati system, I think so, that got repealed. uh, which article was that? Yeah, it got removed by your seventh constitutional amendment act of 1956. Sorry, this one repealed. Okay, this is the first three, sorry, seven. Now moving ahead. What the heck? Okay, it's got like this. So now 8, 9, 10, 11, 8, 9, 10. Wait. Let me do it like one by one. First 8, 9. Here is the pen. 8, 9, then 9A, then 9B, then 10, then 11. So you can fly directly from US repealed, uh, U, then P, then meet child of Sham and Radha. So U is for Union Territories, P is for Panchayati Raj, which is from your 73rd Constitution Amendment Act of 1992. Then M is for municipality, which is for your 74th Constitutional Amendment Act of 1992. Then there is cooperative society. Cooperative society is was added in 97th Constitutional Amendment Act of 2011. 97 Constitutional Amendment Act of 2011, cooperative society. Then there is your schedule type. And R is relation between state and center, union or state. Union and state. Okay, so first to 7. So there are originally 22 parts in the constitution, and during the time of independence we have only 22 parts in our constitution. Now we have 25 parts in our constitution. Okay, now first till 7 you can make them apart. The trick is you can fly directly from US repealed. Okay, so U for union first, then second citizenship, then third is fundamental rights, then fourth is direct principle of state policies, then fourth A is fundamental duty, then fifth is union, then sixth is state, then seventh is repealed. The repealed one was the zamindari system, which was repealed under 7th Constitutional Amendment Act of 1956. Now eighth to 11th. So eighth is your union territory. Then ninth is your Panchayati Raj, which was added in 73rd Constitution Amendment Act of 1992. Then 9A is your municipality, which was added in 74th Constitution Amendment Act of 1992. Then 9B is cooperative society, which was added in 97th Constitution Act of 2011. Then there is 10th, which is scheduled tribes and all that. Then 11th, and the 11th is relation of union and state. Then there are till 12 till 22. This is a whole new part. So to comprise that in one here, I don't think I can do that there. So I'm going a new one. So I did till 11. So 12, 13, 14, 14A, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, and 22. So here the trick is fruit, the fruit taste sweet, fruit taste sweet, to eat so on. Fruit taste sweet, to eat so on. Eat Maggie as tasty snack. Right? So fruit taste sweet, to, so this is fruit taste sweet to eat, so on, eat Maggie as tasty snack, right? So 11th is fruit. So from 11 till 14 it is like finance and all that. So first is fruit for financial and property and contract and all that. Then taste is trade and commerce. Then sweet is your service under this state of union and all that. Okay. Then T is tribunals. So tribunals are the local courts which are in a state, and this was came under your 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act of 1976. Okay. And same goes with the fourth A, which was your fundamental duty. They come under 42nd Constitution Amendment Act of 1976. Now going on, E for election. S is special provision to SC, ST. O is your official languages. E is your emergency. Then emergency is in your I forgotten that, yeah. Emergency is in your like the president emergency, state emergency. There are like I think so 4 emergencies. Okay, so 352, 356, 365, and 360. So national emergency is 352. Then president emergency, president rule is 356 and 365. Here the state is not listening of the center. So the state is not listening of the constitution in the 356, and state is not listening of the center on 365. Then 360 is your financial emergency, right? Then Maggie is for miscellaneous, whatever left. Then A is for amendment. Amendments are from Article 368. This gives the power to amend any article. Then tasty is your temporary transaction or special provision. S is for snack for short title and commencement of authority and text in Hindi. Okay. Now going on to schedules, which are also an important part. So for learning schedule, it is a pretty easy trick. It is T E A R S O F O L D P M. Right now, T is for your territory, and basically, I want to say like your India jurisdiction of territory. It means like how much whatever the territory India can comprise itself. The like India की औकात क्या है territory लेने की, like we can, if we go with war with any other country and we win over there, we can just capture their land. That is written in the constitution. And which is in every country, I would say. And yeah, and like whatever the power like to change the name of state and all that, that is the territory jurisdiction. Then E is for emoluments. So like emoluments are like basic perks and benefit which is given to your president or vice president, uh, CAG, controller, auditor general, your Supreme Court and High Court judges, your chairman and deputy chairman of Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, and your state legislative assembly. That is emoluments, like giving perks and all that. Then A is your oath and affirmation. Then R is your relating seats to your Rajya Sabha. Means like, it formula is like total population upon total and whatever the members are representing the state into 1/1000. So whatever comes here would be the number of seat a state can own in Rajya Sabha. Then S is your schedule type. So these are the first five in the schedules. And to tell you the schedule, at the start, like when we got independent, we only had like eight of them. Uh, and later on, they other, how many are there? 12. So four got added on, right? So as you can see, till 5, we have not seen any amendment, which is for specifically adding the specific part, not the inside of the part, but the part itself, right? So then O is your other schedule area. Now here you will see amendments, but they are for adding the other schedule area. Not even here would be the amendments, but other schedule area is make my trip to Assam without money. So there is no Manipur, there is Meghalaya, Mizoram, Tripura, Assam, right? And no Manipur. That is other schedule area. Then F is your uh, power division between the union, the state, and the concurrent list. The union, state, and concurrent list. So union is the main things like nuclear power, army, your railways, banking, the whole thing which is for everybody in the country, which cannot be only controlled by a particular state. Like the whole country had to work on it to improve it and do good on that. Then state is the specific stuff that the country, like sorry, country, I'm saying the state itself can do. It is like the state police, the liquor, the prison, the local government, the public health, the land, and all that. Now, concurrent list is something which neither state or like union can do that, but union don't want to have that much work on it. So concurrent list is there. First, for concurrent list is education, then transfer of property other than the agriculture land, then forest, then trade unions, then adulteration and adaptation of succession, like your father's shop is going to be yours, that kind of stuff. So union would have all the top things, state would have state thing which can be only done by state, not the whole the main body, like the Rajya Sabha can't control everything. The Lok Sabha is formed for specifically to control their specific state. So that is the state thing which is there. Then concurrent list is that which can't be in union or state. That is like education, agriculture land, then your forest, because forest can go in multiple state. You can't have a forest claim under one state only. Then going on, so TEARS, which is 5, then 6 and 7, then 8th is your official language. Official language, There were earlier a total of how much is that? Two. That means six more. So there were earlier total of 14 official languages when we got independent. Now there are 22. So a total number of eight is added here. Now after, so 14 would have no constitution amendment act here, right? Now the other eight have constitution amendment act, though. So the first is 21st constitution amendment act of 1967 67. So 21st constitution amendment act of 1967, which added your Sindhi. Then your 71st Constitution Amendment Act of 1992, which have your Manipuri, Nepali, and Konkani. Now Konkani is have recently been made like their the constitution book recently has been translated into Konkani language. So this Constitution Act of 71st of 1992 becomes important. Now 92nd Constitution Amendment Act of 2003, which involved BDMS. So Bodhi, Dogri, Mathili, Sathili. Okay, so these are the stuff here. So first one is 21st Constitution Act, right, of 1976, which is of the 15th language. This is it, which is Sindhi, because 14 language were added prior to the independence. So they didn't needed any constitution amendment act, but these are needed because they were added later on as Sindhi added in 21st Constitution Amendment Act of 1976. Now going on to 71st Constitution Amendment Act of 1992, which added Manipuri, Nepali, Konkani. Now 92nd Constitution Amendment Act of 2003. So 2003 you can remember as like the like the 66th Constitution Amendment Act of 2002, which is for what do you call that, the children at the age of 6 till 14 or something like that should have to go school. So here 6 is 6 plus 6 becomes 12, so 2 is there. Now here it is 92nd Constitution Amendment Act, which would becomes 2003. Now Bodhi, Dogri, Mathili, Sathali are here. Now going on ahead, which is L. L is for this is zamindari, land reform, and zamindari or land reform. This was the first Constitution Amendment Act of our country, which was for 1951. So like just after we made our constitution at 26th of no yeah 26th of January of 1950, as we officially launched our constitution, while it was made on the 26th of November, I think so. And just after 1 year, the first Constitution Amendment Act of Land Reform was added here. Now going on to D, which is your 10th, which is anti-deflation law. Anti-deflation law is here, and this is your I think so. 52nd Constitution and Act of 1985. 52nd of 1985, right? Going on Panchayati and Municipality, as you know, these are 73rd and 74th Constitution Amendment Act of 1992, both. So this is the schedules and the parts of 22 parts of the Constitution. Now, what we have to do is we have to open these parts and see what is inside of these parts. Now, our constitution is not entirely made up by ourselves. It is taken from different parts of the country constitution. So first, it is taken from India's Constitution Act of 1935. From this, we have taken federal scheme, which is division of power between state and center. Then uh, judiciary, then public service, then emergency, then office of governor, then last is administrative detail. So India Constitution Amendment Act of 1935, federal scheme for state and center division of power, then judiciary as a high court and supreme court, then judiciary the lawmaking, the public service, then emergency, which are in article 352, article 356 and 365 and 360. Then office of the governor. The governor is like the president of the state, their respective state. Then administrative details. Now, going on to the British, who ruled over us the longest. So we have taken stuff from their constitution too. So first, I would say it is Controller Auditor General. Second is your cabinet system. Then bicameralism, like two houses. Then writs. Writs power is in Article 332 and 126 for High Court. And rule of law. Then your parliamentary government. Or you could call it Westminster government. And lawmaking procedure and parliamentary privileges. These are some stuff we have taken from British Constitution. So first is your cabinet system. Second is your Controller Auditor General. Third is rule of law. Fourth is parliamentary government. Fifth is bicameralism. Sixth is writs. Seventh is your parliamentary privileges. And there is one more here, which is single citizenship as Article 9. This is also here. So from British, you need to remember cabinet system, rule of law, parliamentary privileges, bicameralism, writs, rule of law, Controller Auditor General, single citizenship, and parliamentary government. Yeah, and two house of system, bicameralism, and all that. Now going on to US, from United States of America, we have also taken some stuff from there too. So you could divide it in three parts. First is your fundamental rights, then your preambles. So part third and the preamble sorry मैं preambles थोड़ा ना बोल रहा हूँ उसको preamble होता है not preambles. Preamble is the basic while reading the preamble you would get to know the basic definition what is written in the constitution, as preambles gives you social it is social economical welfare, and it has your SSS, and there is two more there. Then LEIF, I think so. Then this is there. Then there is your judiciary stuff here. So first is independence of judiciary, then your judicial review, then removal of judges of High Court and Supreme Court. So from US we have taken independence of judiciary. Judiciary should be independent. Then judicial review. Then we have taken your removal of judges of High Court and Supreme Court from USA. Going on ahead, we have taken impeachment of president, seat of vice president. Now review. So you can divide when you see US, if they're asking if US, which part you have taken from the US Constitution, and there is like the whole question is like framed like that, and some stuff is given there, four options. So you should remember in your mind there are three parts here. First part is basically the fundamental right, that is pretty common in examination, and then preamble. Going on ahead, you should remember that USA, you could remember like there are a lot of law and all that. So judicial review, independence of judiciary, and removal of judges of High Court and Supreme Court. And third is like you could remember like uh, they hate our president. You could remember as like that. So you could go for like impeachment of president, and they love our vice president. So seat of vice president for USA. Going on ahead, it is Irish. What the heck? Or Ireland, whatever you call that. So Ireland is Irish. So Annie is changing her DP. Annie, she's changing her DP. For DP, you could remember as DPSP, Directive Principle of State Policy, which is in part 4. Then you could remember as the seat of president, right? So the impeachment of president was in USA, and seat of vice president was in USA. Now the seat of president is in Ireland. Okay. Then seat or method of election of president, you could remember as like that. Basically the election of president, that is in Ireland. Now DPSP, then the president thing, then the 12 member which the president nominates from the fields of science, social science, art, and literature. Right? 12 member for the Rajya Sabha, which is 2. Westminster model was in British, right? Parliamentary government in that. Now going to Canada, Canadian. From Canadian, I like to remember it like, what the heck happened? From Canada, I like to remember it like 3. What is happening? From Canada, I like to remember it like 3 S's, 3 S. Sorry, 3 C's. 3 C's, right? These 3 C's are centers. Like wherever you see center at the end, you could go with Canada as your choice. So first is federation with a strong center. So strong center, that is first C. Next is appointment of governor by the center. So governor appointment by center. Now the governor thing was also in 1935 of your India's Constitution Amendment Act, but it was for the seat of the governor. Here they are going for appointment of the governor. Now the last C is residuary power in the center. So what power does the center have? Now the last one is the main one. So Canada, Nada you can remember, or Dada. Dada is of Canada, or the president is, you can remember, Supreme Court. So here it is the main one from Canada, which is ad advisory jurisdiction of Supreme Court. Okay. So review of Canada is three C's. You could remember the main thing for Canada. Canada is for C only, right? So first is residuary power of the center. Next is governor appointed by center. Next is strong center with the good federation. Now the main part of the Canada is advisory jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. How much advice can a Supreme Court give under its power? Jurisdiction means aukat, right? That is Canada. Now going on to Australia. So Australia, con alia. So Australia, con alia, concurrent list. Concurrent list is the list which we did in the seventh, I think so, schedule. Now, there are joint setting between the Houses of Parliament and freedom of trade of commerce in interchange. So, joint sitting is also in Australia. And Federation of Trade and Commerce is also in Australia. Then there is Germany, or you could remember as like Weimar. So Germany have the only one, which is, like how emergency is in the 1935. Here the emergency is on if there is any law which is made which breaks your fundamental right, then you can force an emergency. That is in this thing, right? Germany. Now going to Russia. So as you know, Russians love their duty and they like to do it for 5-year tenure. So 5-year plans which started from your 1951 till 56. This is first year plan. Then 56 to 61. This is second year plan, and third year then there's break, I think so. So that is the 5-year plans, which were for first one for agriculture, then industrialization, then your LPG, your liberalization, privatization, and globalization. That is there, Russia, and then fundamental duty, which is in your 51st Constitution. Sorry, 51st article of Part A. And fundamental duties were brought up by your Sardar Swaran Singh Committee. And the Russia also have the SEP, Social, Economical, and Political Justice. You have taken that from also French. Sorry, Russia, my bad. Then going on to French. Here you can remember as Here you could remember as like leaf. This is liberty, equality, and fraternity. Then South Africa is for election of member of Rajya Sabha election and amendment, which is in Article 368. Then Japan is for law prescription, like they follow law very thoroughly, that kind of thing is there. Going on, emergency. Emergency are of three types. First is your national emergency. Second is your rule of president. Third is your financial emergency. So first is your national emergency, which is in Article 352. Rule of law is two type, 356 and 365. Then financial emergency is in your Article 360. Ouch. Now, talking about national emergency. National emergency can be provoked or actived by three like ways. First is war. If there is war going on with another nation, the national emergency would be applied. Next is your external aggression. So like supposedly if like any other, like supposedly if I have to take example, I might take example of like China. If they are doing aggression towards us, then we would apply national emergency, which is because it would not be safe for our citizens. Next is your armed rebellion. Armed rebellion was replaced by your internal disturbance, because internal disturbance can be of many types. But armed rebellion, when like normal citizens are armed and they are doing rebellion against the government, then the national agency can be applied, which was like how 42nd amendment act, constitution amendment act of 1976 is there, which implies that first of all it was for your fundamental duty. Next it was for tribunals, which was 14 of a part. Now armed rebellion is removed by sorry armed rebellion replaced internal disturbance under the 44th constitution amendment act of 1978. So just to add on both of them, that is and how you can active the national emergency. Now, national emergency, there are some steps here. When national emergency is applied, it day when it is announced, it goes in like one 1 month of the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha with special voting. National emergency can be applied for infinite period of time, but only between the time period of like 6 months. After every 6 months, the national emergency would have to be reapplied. Then and then after it got if the thing the war any other thing which is not have resolved yet, so then you can apply it after 6 months more with special voting again. That is your national emergency, right? How you apply it, how what is the condition to applying it and all that. Now, rule of law, Article 356 is applied when the state is not listening of the constitution, and Article 365 is when the state is not listening of the center. So these are two different articles. Now, rule of law is rule of law or rule of president rule, you whatever you call that, is applied because of these two conditions. And uh, when it is applied, uh, it like the member of legislative assembly, when the state is not listening of the constitution, it is basically the members of the state legislative assembly which are not listening of the constitution, because they are the main guys who are making the decisions for the state. So these guys are, first of all, they are removed when this emergency is applied. uh, and But no local bodies is removed, like panchayati raj or municipality, because these are fragile, I would say, in comparison to state legislative assembly. If you remove them, then there would be problems, I would say, like to make the assembly again and all that. So, and we also don't want to disturb our local government, right? But the member of legislative assembly would be removed completely. Now this dissolution does not happens immediately, but this removal of mla can happen on this doesn't happen immediately, like when the emergency or president rule is applied, but the president can announce that I want to remove this whole mla, member of the legislative assembly, and he can do that. So now, the condition for this is Lok Sabha plus Rajya Sabha with normal voting, I would say, normal voting within 2 months. Now, President rule can only be applied for 3 years with a time period of 6 months of like each segment. Then after 6 months, again voting is there. Now, financial emergency is applied when the country is not in a financially stable condition. This financial emergency has never been applied to the India. I would say the closest we were in 1991, when we had to take loan from the IMF, or I think so, some World Bank or something like that. I don't know the whole story, but we had to take loan. I know that much. So we have never applied this emergency, but if we have to apply this, it would be applied when the state sorry this country is not in a good financial condition. Now, uh, the conditions are Lok Sabha plus Rajya Sabha, 2 months simple majority voting, and three sorry infinite period of time you could apply this, and 6 month repetition period is there. So this is your whole emergency thing. Now going on to some final details. So like in national emergency, when you are applying the national emergency, uh, it is applied with Lok Sabha plus Rajya Sabha, right? What if Lok Sabha at the time is dissoluted? Then the case is that if the Lok Sabha at the time is dissoluted after Lok Sabha is formed, after 30 days, they both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha both have to do another voting, and your special voting again. That's the whole thing. Now, uh, during this period, Lok Sabha can, how tenure is 5 years. The tenure of Lok Sabha can increase to 1 year more, and this is happens because of 42nd Constitution Amendment Act of 1978. And after that 1 year, 6 month period is there to remove the Lok Sabha. That's the whole thing here. So this is the emergency. So 22 parts schedule, the various different parts of the constitution which we have taken from different countries. Then the national emergency, president rule, and financial emergencies we have done. Now we are heading towards our fundamental duty, which is your 51st constitution, sorry, 51st article of part A. And this uh, uh, this I'm doing prior because it is one of a kind. And switch account. Okay. Now going on to your fundamental duty. Fundamental duties are in your article 51st of A. And these are fundamental duties are a part of the constitution, and these are from the 25 parts we have in our constitution. These fundamental duties lies in the part 4A, fourth part of A. Now fundamental duties were brought up by your as you know, like we did the where from which different part of the constitution is taken by which different part of, like like the country. So this fundamental duties are taken up from your, as I told you, Russian love to do their duty. So fundamental duties are taken from the Russia. And also Russia had 5 year plans, which starts from 1951, it goes from every 5 year, 1956. Then next plan is 56 till 61. So, and third, then fourth, then there is a break there. Now the fundamental duties were actually like added by your Sardar Swaran Singh committee. Now, Sardar Swaran Singh committee brought the fundamental duties, and there were some fundamental duties which were too much, so they got removed too. But we will talk about them later. So, Sardar Swaran Singh committee, and there was also Verma committee was also there. So, if the examiner asks you in the fundamental duty, were the Sardar Swaran Singh committee is the only committee which gave the ideas of the fundamental duties and some duties they suggested. So you would say no, there was also Verma committee also present there. Now going on to fundamental duties itself, the fundamental duties in our present constitution, we have a total number of 11 fundamental duties. And if I had to talk about around the independence, we only had only 11, sorry, 10 fundamental duties, but we added the 11th fundamental duty later on. Now going on to the fundamental duty itself, the first fundamental duty is to abide by the constitution. So abide by the constitution means like the ideas and ideology, and respecting the constitution, and respecting our national flag and national anthem. This is your first fundamental duty, and this is your civil duty too. If first of all, the civil duties are only applicable to your citizens, the citizen of India, which is in part second, right? So only citizens of India are applied this fundamental duty. So if you are confused on, like, if somebody from foreign nation comes to India, and it disrespects the Indian flag and anthem, so they would not be applied or had any, uh, like, they would not be sentenced to jail or anything just because of the fundamental duty, but they would be sent, would be punished on some different, uh, like, law, but not by the fundamental duty law. Now second one is your constitution maker. Constitution maker. So constitution makers, this is this is for, like, constitution makers is like, the freedom fighters and all that. You could follow their ideology and all that. That is basically in the second duty. Third is your sui, Cristiano Ronaldo. So sovereignty, unity, and integrity, which is high moral value, that is there. Then fourth is your armed service. Armed service, which what I mean is, like, if you are civilian, if there is like crisis of war and not enough soldiers are there and all that, so you could be called upon so to your duty in the army. That is also written in your constitution. Then fifth is your happy birthday wifey. So harmony mean, like, we have to live peacefully with each other. B for brotherhood, like bhaichara. Then W is for, like, protection of women and childrens and all that. Then sixth is your integrity. I call it integrity, but it is basically rich heritage and culture. Integrity mean high moral value, means like, you should be low to ground or something like that. If I have to say simple language, like, you should have like high moral value and, like, uh, high prestige and high cultural awareness and all that, and you can't be racist to another other culture and all that. Then seventh is your protection of environment. So you could remember as like Dhoni, seven number. They have like big, like, what do you call that? Godam showroom? No, the the farm. So you could remember by that. And in the here you should protect the forest, lake, rivers, living creature, flora and fauna. Going on to eight is your, you could remember eight as like this. Here you could write as ST, scientific temperament. And uh, the rationalism is also there. Then ninth is, you could remember as AB, AB, abjure violence. There should be no violence there. 10th is a basic one, which is like individual reforms of our duty, collectiveness, and the nation consistency to rise to higher level. That is there. So, like, benefit of nation and all that. 11th is the one which was added later on. The other 10 are were made in your before the 26th of November of 1949, when our constitution was officially made. But we made this constitution official to the public or the whole world at 26th of January of 1950. But during that time, from your uh, 26th of November of 1946 till this date, they were like 2 year, 11 month or 18 days or something like that. During this time, we meet all of these 10 duties under the help of Sardar Soran Singh Committee and Verma Committee. But this one was added later on, which is your under 66th Constitution Amendment Act, As I told you, Constitution Amendment Acts are from your Article 368, and amendment basically means like you want to change something. Amend mean change, right? So Constitution amendment means you want to change an article or add the article, that is changing basically mean you're adding or subtracting, there's a change there, right? So 66th Constitution Amendment Act of 2002, and this fundamental duties says that the children's between 6 to 14 should go to the schools and all that. So this was your whole fundamental duty. Now, fundamental duty, moral and civic duty. Moral basically mean the moral one, right? The you should have high moral values and all that, that is moral. Civic is like you should have civic sense and all that. And the civic duty, if you are a citizen of India, then only the fundamental duties are applied to you, right? The benefits and drawbacks too, and the law and all that. So when the civic duty is there, if like first of all, like something like the first one, right? If you are disrespecting the national flag and national anthem as a citizen of India, then you could be punished under this. So that is basically the civic duty and moral duty. Like moral is moral, your moral values and all that, but under the civic duty you could be punished and all that. Now, going on to, these are some Verma committee observation and all that. Yeah, there was one more thing too. The Verma committee, not Verma, the Sardar Forensic Committee, when they formed this duty, some of the duties were removed because those duties were not really going very fluently with the duties we already had. So these duties were, first one was if you don't follow this duty you could be punished, so this was removed. But these are only for moral, the moral duty. But the civic duty, if you're disrespecting the national flag and anthem, or damaging the property, then you obviously would be going to jail. Like if you are going to Red Foot and doing your Pardarshan and all that, and damaging the public property, you would be punished, right? And uh, the Verma committee first one was this duties cannot be punish you. Like you could you if you don't follow the punishi, you can be punished. That is removed. Then challenge the fundamental duty for violation in the court. Now this basically means, like, like how there is part 4, which is directory principle of state policy, which basically means that the policy for states, the betterment of state, and all these policies are there, which comprises from 37th article till article 51, right? Now directive principle of state policy, there is a special thing in there, which is, I think so, article 38 or 39, which says that these policy, when you go to the court, then you cannot challenge these, because there is also one, like right to work. So if you are like not employed, then you can just go to the court and say, my right is not being like you are not giving my right. So these properties, so directive principle of state policy, are not enforceable in the law, in the court. Same goes with these fundamental duties. These are not enforceable in the law. You can't challenge the fundamental duty and going into court and saying that this fundamental duty is invalid. This had been valid for the so many years, so your single judgment cannot be seen valid there, right? Now the last one was the right to pay tax. The tax one was removed because tax is not a fundamental duty, it should be applied in the tax law and all that. Now going on ahead, now the main here is the writ section, which is writs. Writs basically are the source of, like when you are like fundamental right is violated, you could go to High Court and Supreme Court. That is the Article 32 says. So writ base first of all is comprised in Article 32 and 126. Article 32 is for Supreme Court and 126 is for High Court, right? And now Article, what the heck? Article 32 is your uh, soul and life of Constitution. That is Article 32, and this is the most important article of our Constitution. And without this article, the Constitution will be nullity. And this Constitution is our heart of the Constitution. And a Latin term here is sine qua non. Sine qua non. Sine qua non basically means something which is absolutely essential. This article is absolutely essential. Now I'm going to tell you why this is absolutely essential. This articles first of all gives you the right to go to Supreme Court at any time when your fundamental right is you feel like your fundamental right is getting violated. Then you can just go to the Supreme Court. That words tells you in Article 32. And this going to the Supreme Court part, this cannot be removed in any circumstances. This is also written in the Article 32. So that's why it is, this gives the citizens like kind of like the security and their mind is in peace that we can have our own powers, right? We can just go to the Supreme Court if our right feels violated, like right to speech is there. If somebody is trying to subdue your right to speech, you can just go to the Supreme Court under Article 32. And this Article 32 now have parts, or these parts are, or you could say provisions. You basically calls them can call them provision, right? Now Article 32 have four provisions. The first, second, third and fourth. First one is appropriate proceeding, right to have Supreme Court by appropriate proceeding from for enforceable or fundamental right. What I was saying here, this is the part first. Part second is your writs, which I was talking about. Writs, there are your five kind of writs. First is habeas corpus, second is mandamus, third is prohibition, fourth is certiorari, last is quo warranto. Now third one is your parliament can empower. So in the third 32 article of third says that the parliament, the word parliament is important, right? Parliament can empower is also important. Empower any court to issue writ, but the writ they are going to issue cannot surpass the power of Supreme Court. That is also a thing. Next one is right to move to Supreme Court shall not be suspended. As I told you, this was in part 4. Here, right to go to Supreme Court. Now, going on to these writs, which is very important, and this is very asked in the exam. So first one is your habeas corpus. Habeas corpus. Habeas corpus is basically what says here is this. This is the main thing, to have a body of. So in habeas corpus, you could remember it like I give you example. This is a guy, right? And this is another guy. You could remember as X and Y. Now, supposedly, X got kidnapped by Y, and Y kidnapped him on illegal ways. And X was not a part of, like, this is not was a prank. It was an actual kidnapping. Now, the X can issue habeas corpus, and he can say that I have a body of, and he can issue habeas corpus against this Y guy who kidnapped him. Now, this can be done against any body, any government body, any public body. Nobody is safe against this. So anybody can be issued on this thing, right? That is basically the whole thing, habeas corpus. I'm just telling you in the short. Now, this is the whole thing, right? But one case is there when the corpus can't be issued if the case goes out of the jurisdiction. Jurisdiction means औकात in Hindi. So if it is औकात के बाहर है Supreme Court के, तो then he can't do anything. Now, that is habeas corpus. Next, second is your mandamus. Mandamus is the one which says that we we command you. So these terms are important, right? To have a body of we command. So we command basically is applied for government bodies. So if you are standing in a government office and the guy is not doing your work, so you could just basically say I would issue mandamus against you, because you are not doing you're not doing the public work which you were hired to. And this mandamus can only be issued against the government. And if some private institute is working on, like, government quota, then also it can be issued. Now, going on third, which says that prohibition is on when Supreme Court prohibit high courts after they have issued their writ and all that, their statement and all that, and justice and all that. They can prohibit Supreme Court on doing that, because Supreme Court can prohibit High Court, like if the thing they have done is bad and all that. And fourth is certiorari. Certiorari basically says that uh, when High Court issues an order, the Supreme Court can, this is the main word, quash. Quash basically mean cancel or like splash. So High Court or Supreme Court, so like when High Court issues an order, Supreme Court can quash that uh, order of the High Court. This is different from prohibition, because the High Court one was they were giving Supreme Court was giving High Court a chance to issue the writ. Here they are not giving the chance, they're just quashing the order at the particular time. The last one, which is Q warranto, is like, by what authority are you issuing this order against me? Or like how supposedly the FBI is there in your door and knocking. You just say them, by what authority are you arresting me? Can I see your arrest warrant? That is basically Q warranto. Now, next I have to do is making of the constitution. From making of the constitution, what I mean is the history of the constitution, which would be starting from your 1885. I would just do one from here, then we would just jump up to 1934. So yeah, Be in touch.